Craig, I want to go back here. Tell people briefly the General Barry McCaffrey story, telling the young graduates in the military, the officers, that we're going to have to use foreign troops in America.
This was at the CASQ class in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and my nephew, a young captain just back from Somalia, was going there, and it's the class you take before you go to Command and General Staff College. And when his class went through, the graduation speaker was General Barry McCaffrey. And when it was over, Brian called me, and he said, "Hey," he said, "I taught the boy well ever since he was an Eagle Scout. He knew all about the CFR and all that sort of stuff." And he said they had introduced this General Barry McCaffrey as a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. So I started taking copious notes. He says, and let me tell you what he said. He said that with the build down of the military, this was during the Clinton administration. He says with the build down, I hate that word, of the military. And the shape the military is in right now, if we get deployed on 2 or more fronts overseas, that's the key. This is 1994, 95, right in there. 2 or more fronts overseas, then if we have a declared national emergency at home, we will be forced to rely upon foreign assets to patrol our streets. Foreign assets. That means UN troops.
And that mirrors what Henry Kissinger said.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the plan. That's why we're still funneling all this money into the UN, is that we can pull in people from everywhere, from Manchuria to Russia to China to Mongolia, who knows, and divide the country up and give them each a part. I heard you earlier when the young man was talking about whether or not American troops would fire upon American citizens here on the home front. And my sources in the military at higher levels say that there's no way that's going to happen. Well, the word's out that these people tipping their hand in Washington right now has got the military pretty much jazzed up against them, and they know it. So what do? They send more troops to Afghanistan to get them out of the country. If they start using foreign troops, it's not going to be a problem. It's not going to be an issue. They'll fire on whoever they're told to. Now here's the thing. I talked to, several years ago, Marina Porter, who previous to that was Marina Oswald.
Stay there. We're going to come back, finish this story, and then, because it's so important for people to hear, briefly tell your story about when you died and came back to life on the operating table. Then we're going to take some final phone calls here with Colonel Craig Roberts. Always amazing to have him on with us. RifleWarrior.com is his site. Our sites are PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com. Colonel Craig Roberts is our guest. Jason Burmis is going to be sitting in tomorrow with Catherine Austin Fitz is on live, and a bunch of other amazing guests on ClimateGate. I got a big interview I'm doing tomorrow in Dallas, and we'll be airing that later in the week, so I'm traveling to Dallas just for this interview. Going back to Colonel Craig Roberts. Okay, finishing up your Barry McCaffrey story. Go ahead.
Well, when my nephew called, he said that with McCaffrey being a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, he knew that he would probably be a globalist, and so he started taking these notes, and he told that story that should we need troops on our soil, and our guys are all committed overseas, we would call on foreign assets, which meant UN troops. Well, they wouldn't have a problem dealing with Americans that are armed and form a resistance. And when I talked to Marina Porter, who was originally Marina Oswald, Lee Harvey Oswald's widow, she said, Mr. Roberts, she said, in Russia, she said when they had to deal with the people, with the army, she said they would take the troops from the north and they would send them to the south. And they would take the troops from the south and they would send them to the north. In other words, Ukrainians would go north and Russians would go to the Ukraine or Chechnya or something like that. He says, and then because of the culture difference and no one was related to anybody, they had no problems in shooting the people. So that's the same mentality. You take people from someplace else and you bring them here, it's going to be like sending us to Afghanistan or Iraq or Vietnam or Korea or whatever. We're shooting somebody else besides our own people. Well, meanwhile, they've got people here shooting our family. So that's the mentality of that type of an operation.
Well, let me expand on that, though, because I know you're a police officer and SWAT team guy and police helicopter pilot, so you're deep into that culture. And we've had long car rides together, traveling to events where we've had discussions about this. And the average police officer is just a good guy. Their family's in it. They get out of the military. It's the job they take. But the commanders, the system. I mean, take our Austin police chief. He took a federal grant. They passed a law at the state level. They take blood without warrants now. They just announced no more warrants. I was at a lawyer's office signing some documents last night. The lawyer happened to be a former Travis County judge, and he brought it up and said, I just can't believe America's turned into this. And they have militarized the police. They have taught the police, taser somebody if they even argue with you for 2 seconds. The police were caught in Canada last year at the SPP, North American Union meeting, dressed up like anarchists, attacking other cops. People videotaped their boots and their staged arrests. The Royal Mounted Police admitted they staged it. Last year at the DNC in Denver, I was there. It was later confirmed. We had our suspicions but couldn't confirm it. But the police blew the whistle and said, yeah, they had other Denver police attack other police for the news cameras and didn't even tell the police that they were being attacked. Only the commander told them, stand down, let them throw bottles at you. That was declassified in Seattle in 99. And I sent my camera guys, Rob Dude, no criminal record, got arrested for filming police. They said no one in the city is allowed outside day or night. 1 million people in the city of Pittsburgh. G20's coming to town. And we videotaped, and this is coming out in the new film, with sound cannons, the police and military driving around shooting people coming out of stores. Old women with shopping bags would walk out during the day, nowhere near the convention center. Cops would come up with billy clubs and say, get back, you're not allowed on the street. And the old woman goes, I just was shopping. The police dog bites her. Then no one was resisting them. They're sound cannoning and attacking 9-year-old kids in their front yards playing. People on their front porches, you know, it's old-fashioned in Pittsburgh, driving by, shooting them, announcing, like out of a science fiction movie, that no right to redress, no right to assemble under this code. We played the video here many times, and they would fire it at them. Then, even though it was over Friday night, they went to the university, to the kids out at the park, and said, you're not allowed to assemble. Like the police didn't just want martial law. They brought them in from all over the country, and the military, and then later the G20 met, they had private goons in police uniforms. Like, you can pull up the video, guys, snatching and grabbing. Just go to YouTube and type in snatch and grab secret arrest in Pittsburgh. And guys would just jump out of vehicles and grab people and drag them away, setting the precedent. And I don't have a hatred of police. I don't want to have a fight with them. I don't want to dislike their culture, but it's wrong. Women would be on bicycles at the university, and the police would say, off the streets, and they'd go, okay. They would chase them and billy club little women like 90 pounds. And fundamentally, as a man, that makes me mad. Cops in Darth Vader outfits stomping and beating women. And then there'd be like 30 anarchists, as usual, paid. The cops would wait while they would, in front of the news, throw rocks. Then the anarchists would move to the back, and then the police would attack the peaceful people. It was all rigged, Craig. I mean, so they don't even need foreign troops in many respects, because so many police just, I mean, you've seen the footage probably from Miami, where they said no protest allowed, and they were shooting women in the face with rubber bullets and laughing about it later at the debriefing. I mean, they think of us as lower than, you know, shooting squirrels or something. I mean, you understand the culture and where it's gone. I don't, again, there are a lot of good police in the system, but what about the system itself?
Well, I can't speak for what happens back east, because that's a different breed of cat. But I know around here, none of that would happen. I have lunch with a lot of our officers all the time in this area, and even though I'm retired, I'm not an outcast yet. And they basically say, if that ever comes here, we're going home and putting on our fatigues. We're not going to be, we're not going to be out, doing, all this globalist stuff like that. We're going to the house. And I told them a story. I said, look, what happens someday, guys, when you get called to the station, everybody, the dispatcher comes on and tells all cars 1019 the station, and you get there and they take you into this assembly center, and they've got all these tables lined up, and they say, we want you to turn your guns in, and we want you to turn your handcuffs in. We're going to replace them with the new style something or other this afternoon. Meanwhile, go over to the cafeteria and get something to eat so we can do the paperwork, and you're going to draw new weapons when you come out. When you come out, there's no new weapons. Instead, you've been disarmed, and they hand you a nightstick or a can of mace and say, now go do your job with this, because we don't trust you as cops anymore because you're not on our side, so we're going to disarm you as well. And, of course, everybody says, well, that's not going to happen here. Well, it's happened all over the world, and it can happen any place as long as everybody blindly follows the idiots up there who are running the show.